Good morning, everyone. This is John Browning with Guardian Rock Wealth at guardianrockwealth.com. This is not investment advice. This is strictly information and opinion we hope you can use to build your best life using the tool that we call money. And that is all that money is simply a tool from which you can build your best life as you define it. If you would like personal investment advice, reach out to us at guardianrockwealth.com or text the word life, L-I-F-E, to 321-421-5213. This morning we are looking at stocks trading to the high side and oil prices $70.05 this morning, with the 10-year coming in at a 4.27. So if you own those 10-year Treasury bills, you are losing money again. Sorry about that. Bitcoin, sounds like an oxymoron, is kind of stable right now, right around that $95,000 to $96,000 level. My guess is, and this is only a guess, is that we'll stay right around these levels until we get the inauguration and we see a few weeks into next year how much and how quickly the Fed will come in and start buying Bitcoin, or will they start buying Bitcoin? It is very possible that the federal government would quickly become the largest holder of Bitcoin. So we'll see if that actually happens and how fast that happens. Today we get ADP employment, we get factory orders, ISM services, and the Beige Book, along with some Fed speakers. Of course, the most notable of which is Fed Chairman Powell. This will be his last opportunity to say anything and signal anything before we get the decision on whether or not they're going to raise or lower rates. We believe they will lower rates another 25 basis points in December. However, some of the other Fed officials have raised some concerns about this, so we'll see where things go from here. I think there are some things that, because of the headline news, as is often the case, that we are somewhat ignoring and maybe we haven't thought about. So this morning I thought we would take a look at some maybe esoteric, maybe not so esoteric things. First of all, in case you didn't hear, South Korea implemented martial law for about 6 hours before it was fairly quickly reversed, but it highlights the lack of supported leadership in South Korea right now, which of course, as we know, is right next to North Korea. And North Korea is not something I think too many people want to see repeated in South Korea. So some concerning things there. And of course, there is a very big market. You say, why do we care? Well, because there's a very big chips market. Samsung is there, LG is there, lots of companies that contribute to the supply chain that we are all used to. And on top of that, of course, we have the tariff talk, which we've spoken enough about. I'm not going to touch too much on that today. Another thing that nobody thinks about and kind of goes beyond the scope of this morning is India and the European Space Agency are launching their Proba 3 to study it's a solar probe and studies the outside of the sun. And you're like, why does that matter? Well, here's the thing, and this is something we think the United States is the only one that pays attention to these things or does any research on this type of thing. Well, the rest of the world does too, and it's important. These solar flares that we have been experiencing, some of them have been very severe. Figuring out what causes them, if we can predict them and adjust to them, is important because they change and deform the magnetic fields of the Earth, which causes power outages, all kinds of communication problems, and all sorts of other navigation issues and the like. So that is interesting. We'll see that launched later today. And also, we're really paying attention to, again, what is going on in Israel with Lebanon and Hezbollah and the Houthis and everything else. It is a little bit amazing to me to watch the idea that the Houthis, while we've defended against their attacks, we still cannot, we being the world, cannot navigate the Red Sea, which really impacts shipping and the supply chain as well. And we're seeing more shooting happening, even though there is a ceasefire. They're using, well, we're enforcing the ceasefire so that we can shoot at people. And so that is going on, and we're keeping an eye closely on that to see if that escalates and whether or not Trump can get them to release the hostages and create any sense of stability in that region. Of course, oil, another issue on that front. However, not so much these days because, once again, just as a reminder, the United States is now the largest producer of oil in the world. Let's see here. We've got Eli Lilly moving ahead today. Their weight loss drug was found to be a little bit more effective than Novartis. What those are, by the way, is they're really diabetes drugs that have been around for years, and they've modified them a bit to be weight loss drugs. So if you can take a pill and lose weight instead of going to the gym and eating a little differently, that's a little bit easier for folks. And so folks are very excited about that. GM has a major write-down with their troubles in China. And as China moves more and more away from the combustion engine and they're moving into electric, they just decided to write down that. So that's not good for those stock prices. We're also seeing a lot of these iconic brands, in case you haven't noticed, not doing as well. Campbell's Soup, when they've dropped the soup name as part of the branding thing, lost their CEO recently and has dropped significantly in price. My grandsons still like Goldfish, though, and I still like Campbell's Soup, but we're kind of seeing some interesting things there. We're also seeing Nike has, an iconic brand, has really not performed well. Foot Locker down this morning, 16%. Again, iconic branding that we used to just say, oh, nothing would ever happen to these brands. And now we're seeing that talent bleed is what I think is one of the major components of that impacting these brands. So keeping an eye on what you own and why you own it and how things are changing, very, very important to your financial planning. I'm even looking today. I had the question of the day over the past few days actually has been like 75, 80-year-old folks extrapolating the most recent great data and fantastic performance that we have had into the future and not remembering sequence of returns risk. Any of this, by the way, you can feel free to reach out to us at Guardian Rock Wealth. We can take you through why sequence of returns risk is extremely important, especially as you get older. And we can help you plan for that. It's very, 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 I'm going to put 3 varies on that, important that you understand sequence of returns risk as you head into retirement and the importance of potentially locking in some of those gains and changing the way you look at your retirement. I hope this has been helpful. This is John Browning with Guardian Rock Wealth out of West Palm Beach, Florida. We are accepting clients across the United States and, of course, here in Florida as well. Again, it's easy to get in touch with us. Text the word LIFE to 321-421-5213 or visit us at guardianrockwealth.com. If you have a question, please let us know in the comments. We would be happy to try and answer that on a future podcast. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.